Are you tired of the mainstream media lying to you every single day? You are not alone. Millions of other Americans are sick of the corporate media fake news of the MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, other Times, Washington Post, Political. Every single one of them are in the bag for the Democrats. They are all Team DNC. But now you have another option in independent creators like here on the CASHLOREN show. Well, we will go and we will expose the deep state, these unelected bureaucrats, and the mainstream media, along with the Democrats and their friends in the Rhino Uniparty, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Get the facts on the CASHLOREN show. I am your host, America's Truth Teller, shining a bright red light on the corruption and the hoaxes from the mainstream media and the Democrat Party. You're not going to want to miss a single moment. Join the American First Movement Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the CASHLOREN show.
In 2025, we find ourselves in a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all three of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service, it's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Well, this Epstein thing will just not go away as much as Pam Bondi and Donald Trump want it to go. They have tried to push this into the back burner for weeks now, and just like we're saying, this is continuing to grow further and further. And now it's gotten to the boiling point where we have Don Bongino and both possibly Cash Patel are both threatening now that they will leave the FBI if Pam Bondi is not removed from the DOJ. Now, as I've started this recording, she is still refusing to resign, as she should, as of everything that has gone wrong with the Epstein files. As this has been one of the big black eyes on the Donald Trump administration, and it didn't need to be this way because it was promised that it was just going to be released. And she sat in front of everybody and she said it was on my desk. And then she went out and she had these influencers come in and show these white binders that were supposedly supposed to release all this stuff, but they were a big nothing burger. And then she went and she told that it was all about because of the FBI. And then it was excuse after excuse after excuse. But she kept going on to Fox News every single day, whether it was this reason or that reason. But at the end, nothing was ever released. Now, people have had a sick enough, and I guess this has been going on for many months now. As this started out here today, earlier, with this was Laura Loomer, as she posted initially on her own page that this was all happening. And then you had CNN, they then ran with it, although they gave Laura Loomer zero credit for her work, although they quoted what she did. So this was Caitlin Collins of CNN. It's accurate that Dan Bongino has told people that he is considering resigning amid the major clash between the FBI and over the fallout from the Epstein memo. I just want to say this on the moment for the memo and for the Epstein list, or wherever it is or whatever it's not. The biggest thing here is if people are doing things with children, that they need to go to prison. I don't care how rich they are. I don't care how connected they are. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're Republicans. I don't care if they're Democrats. If something was happening with children, they all need to be held responsible. But then this reeks of cover-up. I mean, it makes zero sense. There's no way there was everything was destroyed, and there's absolutely no evidence left whatsoever. And even if that was true, even if everything had been destroyed, then at that point, then you would be able to go after the people who destroyed the evidence. There's no way that this is zero. It's just not possible, and it's not believable. So something is happening, and I don't know exactly what, and I certainly have my suspicions for what is happening behind the scenes. And sometimes Donald Trump and his administration will just make you scratch his head, especially with AGs. I mean, he has had the worst picks from all the great things that Donald Trump has done for this country. His choices of AGs have not been played out so far. And I was the one right at the beginning when she was put in place and she was confirmed by the Senate. I said at that time, I said, just give it a few months. We know what happened in Florida and we know what her career has been like, but give it at least 6 months. Right? Give them a chance because Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and all the other people that are coming in for the Trump administration, they are not walking into a neutral government. Okay, these are vipers. And they're working hard to try to backstab the Trump administration for every chance they can. And this makes everything a lot more complicated. And that's why I wanted to give her some grace. But at this point, I mean, who can make a single argument for why Pam Bondi should remain in the DOJ as the prosecutor? Why? What possible reason has she done to earn that position? And especially now, if you're talking about losing Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, the two really good patriots who actually are doing the hard work to turn this country around. This is a huge, huge problem for Trump. And it's bad because he's done so much good for this country. He's turned our economy around. He's securing our border. He got his big, beautiful bill pushed through. And now ICE is deporting all these illegal criminals. And we're going to be going through what happened in California later on. But this is something that has to be solved. Because as I went through and I searched through X and the internet today, I couldn't think of a single reason why anybody would support her. I mean, why? Well, if I was in Trump's shoes and I had Dan Bongino, I had Kash Patel telling me that they're going to walk unless she's fired, she would have been told right then and there, you either resign or you're getting fired. And that should have really happened the other day when they sat in the press conference and Donald Trump stood up for her, which I don't think was the greatest idea. This is something where he really needs to read the room here. And this is going to continue to plague him. If Donald Trump, like you said, is hoping that the Epstein list just goes away and they can start moving forward with the administration, that is just not going to happen. And the Democrats, they are seizing on this moment because they're trying to now say that, well, if Donald Trump won't release the Epstein list, then this must be because Donald Trump is on the Epstein list, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because I see really three possible answers here. One, I think is very unlikely, is that all the evidence actually is destroyed and they just lied to us about it and they don't want to tell you that. The other, which is the most unlikely answer, is that Donald Trump is actually on the Epstein list. I don't see how that's possible just because of Joe Biden and Merrick Garland and Chris Wray. If they all went after Donald Trump with everything they had. And if they went after him for these boxes hoaxes and for the felony hoaxes and for the January 6th hoax and for the Gene Carroll hoax, they wouldn't have done all that if they had Trump doing weird things with kids on that island. If that would have gotten leaked, he would have got arrested, something would have happened. And that's why I think that's the least likely of the three. And then, of course, the last one, which I think is the most likely, is that there's probably was destroyed, but also there is a major protection happening right now, and what we call the deep state. I mean, this is like if you're around for back in like 2008 when we had the markets crash, right? And we were told back then that's too big to fail, and they had to bail out all these big banks. That is this on steroids. And this is I'm willing to bet the names that are on there will absolutely shock, and it'll be to the point that I bet the deep state is arguing that if everybody actually went to jail for this, that it would just cause the U.S. collapse. I think that's the most likely here. What ends up playing out and what happens if we ever see it, I don't know. I think Trump was being honest when he wanted the Epstein list out there. And for whatever reason, it's not coming out now. And this is all going to fall on Pam Bondi. And if Pam Bondi doesn't either resign, quit, or release that list, or at least get out in front of a camera, If everything has been destroyed, then at least hold a press conference and tell everybody. Or if they're saying, hey, this is just too big, we can't take out this many people, then be honest about it. As much as that is BS, but they're handling it in the worst possible way. And the worst thing is when they do handle things this way, when they won't be honest, is that people always go to probably what is far worse than what has actually happened. As the Democrats continue to jump on this is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is constantly competing with Jasmine Crockett to be the dumbest person in the Congress every single day. She had the nerve to post this today. She posted, "Wow, would you have thought that the elected Arabians who would have complicated the release of the Epstein files?" Referring to the Jean Carroll case. And Donald Trump, I hope he sues her into the ground. Because Donald Trump has never been convicted of any of that. And these 34 fake felony hoaxes, those are going to go away too. But Donald Trump, they said defamation. To take you back to essentially what Jean Carroll said, is she said that Donald Trump abused her decades ago. Now, it was so long ago that New York had to write a new law that only had a year, so they can only prosecute Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump, he said, I didn't do it, which is your right to progress your evidence. And then they took him into court and they got him for defamation. What are you supposed to do? Someone accuses you of something and you say, I'm innocent. Now that's supposed to be worth $500 million, or yeah, it was 500 million? No, 500 billion. Geez, no, $500 million. Get my zeros messed up. But that should not be happening in the US. And then she has the nerve to say that when she knows he's never been convicted of that. That is actual defamation. And I hope Donald Trump, I hope he sues her. And I hope AOC, she has to pay millions and millions of dollars for what she just did online. Is the last I saw that over 3 million views. Hope she screws around and she screws out. But as this continues here, it actually continues to get worse for Pam Bondi and the DOJ on this Epstein case, because they also not only have not released any of the information, but now on top of that, they released what they called was an unedited video from Epstein's room that was supposed to show, uninterrupted security, that no one came in and no one came out. And now this report comes out today. So this is on metadata. This is raw. Jeff Epstein's prison video was likely modified according to this report from Wired. And this actually broke a few days ago because there was a full minute missing. There was from 11:59 and then it went to midnight and the whole minute was gone. And there was kind of this weird glitch thing. I don't know, but that seems sure suspicious. Now the outlet is saying that the 10-hour prison video from independent video forensic clinics that include raw footage was indeed modified. To what extent, they will not go that far. In fact, they go on to say they're going to emphasize at this moment there is no evidence the footage was deceptively manipulated. Well, that's kind of a strange statement to say. I mean, if they told us at once that it was, and now they're saying that it was a full video, now they're saying it's not, well, then what is missing? And why tell everybody that it was a full unedited video if it wasn't? Oh, shoot. Now, we have, going forward, is this 10-hour video and the raw footage. It then goes on to say that the experts, and they said that surveillance system was professionally edited with something like Adobe Pro, the Wired found. So Adobe Pro, this is the kind of software that you can make like the Avengers with. I mean, this is a top-end, high-end video editing software. Why? Again, this is something that looks very bad for them. And of course, they caution that expect what changes and that the metadata does not prove deceptive manipulation. But it sure is suspicious. See, this all adds up to where it can't really be any kind of, well, it's too many pieces that don't fit. You have the promise to bring the information out, and then you show these binders that are fake, and then you say that all this is on your desk. Okay, that's the moment Pam Bondi should have resigned, because it's either one of two things. Either it was never on her desk and she lied about it then, or it is on her desk and she's lying about it now. Either way, she lied to the American voters. And this level of lie, what this is doing to the Donald Trump administration and the ammunition that it's given the Democrats, should cost her job. She should have resigned already. And I hope Donald Trump comes around and tells her, you either resign or you will get fired. Because that is the answer here. I mean, any of you, what has Pam Bondi done to keep her job? How does she recover from what she's done to the Trump administration with these Epstein files? Especially after all the success that Donald Trump has had. That he has brought our economy back from the Biden disaster in such a short amount of time. Even though when all the experts, when they all said that Donald Trump, that he was going to cause a recession and he was going to cause the economy to collapse. And you remember how they had all their egg hoaxes. And then you remember how they had all the other issues. Or they're going to say, the stock market was crashing and how all these tariffs were going to cause our economy to absolutely collapse. But none of that happened. In fact, our economy is raging back. And the stock market is hitting record highs. Gas prices are the lowest they've been in 4 years. These are all wins for the United States, as Donald Trump promised and Donald Trump made. If he's getting advice to try to ignore this Epstein file, this is a huge mistake. A very huge one. He needs to stand up, take this bull by the horn, and put it behind him. So it's not overshadowing and it's not black-eyeing everything else that he's doing for this administration. Because of right now, the Republican Party and Donald Trump, we are sitting in the driver's seat of the 2026 midterms. And the Democrats, they've already promised if they take back the House, they're not going to do anything for Donald Trump's administration. We're basically going to have 2 years of deadlock. And they're going to waste those 2 years. They're going to be trying to go after Donald Trump with all their fake investigations and all their fake impeachments all over again. This is the fastest path for the Democrats to achieve that goal. He must put an end to it now. And with that, we're on to a break. We'll be right back after this greedy profit break, and we're going to talk about Gavin Newsom in California and the shocking things that are happening there as they try to lie about the farm that was raided by ICE agents, taking these poor undocumented workers. But the facts they try to hide that coming out will absolutely shock you. You're not going to miss that. For anything else, we'll be right back after this greedy profit break. This is the CASHLOREN Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast record it, you put it up to just a single upload, then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the CASHLOREN, and get your 1 free month today. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the CASHLOREN show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks in addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you're getting lots of extra benefits too. Well, the Democrats, they're trying to make everything about Donald Trump and get you to ignore all the problems that are happening in their own party. I mean, the Democrats, they are breaking in half right before our eyes. As you have the older generation, the Hakeem Jeffries and the establishments like Schumer, they are now dividing amongst themselves between the younger generations, the AOCs, the Zohran Mamdanis, and over to like the David Hoggs of the Democrat Party. So they pushed so far left that now they can't even moderate with the moderates anymore. They just have no common ground with the rest of the American people. And this has caused them, because they're so desperate to have power, that this has caused them to openly and blatantly lie about everything that they can, all to protect the one thing that they're most reliant on: illegal immigration into our great country. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they let tens of millions of illegal immigrants come into this country with no vetting, with no due process, with no questions asked. We don't know who they are, we don't know where they are, and we don't know what they're doing. What we do know is they let in lots of murderers and lots of human traffickers and lots of other people who have done very bad things to the American people. And why the Democrats, they continue to do all these crocodile tears for all these illegal aliens, you notice how they never do any cries for anybody like Laken Riley or anybody other Americans who have suffered because of what they have done to this country. And this has caused them to fall all the way down to 17%. But now the newest hoax they're trying to push was what happened at the California farm last night. Have you guys seen this one? Because the lie here is that these are just innocent, migrant workers who were doing nothing wrong. And then the big mean man, Orange Man, sent his ICE agents in there, the little Gestapo, to go in and take all these poor innocent people and lock them up and ship them out. There's, of course, one big problem with that. The biggest problem is that it's not true. But in addition to that, if you come into this country illegally, you do get deported. That is the due process. And that is something that Trump ran on. That is something that's very popular with the American people. And the Democrats, they know this. So that's why the people of the fake news networks, such as CNN or ABC, NBC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, all the others that are Team DNC, they are all in the bag for the Democrats. These are not independent journalists. These are activists for the Democrat Party. And while they pretend to be neutral, thanks to the independent creators, we have been able to expose them to the point where they have no influence left. See, that's why Democrats, they're all the way down to last I saw 17%. And this is why the mainstream media, why they can't influence people anymore, and all their ratings are tanking because of things like this. So this is, no, not that one. There it is. All right, so this is Gavin Newsom protesting ICE raids on a marijuana farm allegedly found using child labor. Okay, this is not allegedly. But the articles I'm going to show you later, when I say that you don't hate fake news enough, I mean that you don't hate fake news enough. As they were caught. And the connections are going to shock you because they found the children. So let me cut ahead real quick, see if I can find it where he said, okay, so Gavin Newsom, he said, where is it? Let's see if I can find it real quick. Let's see, I lost it in my notes. But he essentially said that he was, that adults were running from these big, mean ICE agents, and look at the children crying. And of course, this woke nonsense they always do, where they try to manipulate people. And this is the most way they do it. Is what they will do is they'll only tell you the bits and pieces that they want you to know. And then they will hide the facts that they don't want you to know. So that, because if you knew all the right information, if you knew the whole facts, you would never come to the conclusion that the Democrats want you to come to. In this case, it's big, mean ICE agents taking these poor migrants and locking them up in cages. And so they go on with farms and migrants and mean ICE agents. And then what they're ignoring is how all these activists that showed up, they started attacking these ICE agents. And they were using like Mexican flagpoles to try to smash the tires and hit the cars. You had them throwing rocks at the vehicles. And then even one man pulled out a gun and fired at the agents. This is all from the Democrats' rhetoric, as we're also going to cover through in here, is they know what they're doing when they call these agents like Gestapo, or they call them Nazis, or they call them fascists. They are trying to dog whistle for violence. Never doubt that for a single second with the Democrat Party. The Biden administration let in at least 3,000 children smuggled into the United States, and nobody knows where they went. And I'm seeing some of these reports now going even up as high as 500,000 undocumented children that are there is no proof of who they were, where they went. All right, they weren't even bothering to check were these relatives, were these parents, were these uncles. The addresses were fake, the phone numbers were fake, and no one in the Biden administration was looking into any of this. They were just passing them through. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Because this is what Gavin Newsom was lying about. So they blurred out their faces because they're minors, but this was the children. So there's at least 10 minors here that were working on this farm. They probably don't speak English, but they certainly, you'd think they'll have rights. I mean, this is more or less slave labor. And it's not crops. It's not berries or corn or potatoes or anything, apples or anything else that you eat. This was a marijuana plant that they were harvesting down in California. So there's at least 10 juveniles found, according to the CBS. So this is the next one, so you can see this. Nope, let's see. Okay, I don't have it up here. Okay, so there was at least 10 juveniles were found at this marijuana facility, all illegal aliens. All right, so not a single U.S. citizen. And then at least 8 of them were unaccompanied and now under investigation for child labor laws. This is the Democrats' America. This is who they're trying to protect. They're not trying to protect these poor, innocent dreamers. See, that is the lie from the left. Who they are trying to protect are people who came here illegally and are now facilitating illegal crime for, it looks like, for these companies. And I hope they start holding these companies too responsible. I hope they find out how many hours they're making them work and how much of anything they're being paid. And I hope these people get arrested and I hope they get prosecuted. But the connections just continue to even get worse for the Democrat Party. And so they have facilitate, they have the function. See, and then now, because as it goes up and it continues to connect all back here to Gavin Newsom, as this is on Fox News, as they posted this. Newsom donor cannabis farm, this is one where they were all arrested, and where the activists attacked ICE agents, under a federal investigation for child labor violations. 9 undocumented children rescued as protesters clashed with authorities at Graham House facility, so they said. But now we're finding out, too, from this report, that this facility allegedly donated to Gavin Newsom directly. Well, isn't that suspicious? Doesn't that make you scratch your head a little bit? They're donating to Gavin Newsom. Is Gavin Newsom being paid to look the other way? That's a question I think that the FBI should look into. I mean, how much of this is going on? If there's 300,000 children out there at least, and they found over 10,000 to this date, okay, where are the other 290,000 right now? Are they being employed like this in these slave labor camps? Are Democrats taking contributions? These are all questions that need to be answered. See, this is going to get a lot deeper and a lot darker very, very soon. This is why they can't let you know any of this. And of course, the mainstream media are more than happy, like they always are, to cover for the Democrat Party, as they are activists. They are not journalists. As you read all these headlines, after ICE was assaulted on this marijuana farm, and someone was shot at ICE, and what's their headlines? Is that the highest rate in California was arresting farmers. And they call it farmers, and just arresting farmers. They ignore that it wasn't an actual farm, this is weed. And they ignore that it was exploiting child immigrants. And you look at all that, it's amazing how they all have the same headlines. You know, I don't know who's giving them all their talking points, but it's amazing how you can look here and they all say the exact same thing all at the same time. And every once in a while, we get an opportunity to show this to you. It's horrible. So this is Gavin Newsom. Then later in the day, as he broke down, lives of TikTok absolutely caused him to melt down in the most funniest way. And then I want you to watch how Gavin Newsom, how he words his response, because this is again how they lie. And so this is Liz of TikTok reporting, breaking, anti-ICE protesters just pulled a gun on ICE against California. Will Gavin Newsom condemn this? As ICE agents are facing a 700% increase in assaults. And this is why they are carrying masks now, is to protect them and protect their families. When the Democrats, when they dog whistle for violence, when they try to dehumanize them, this is what the results of doing that. Whereas Gavin Newsom, he quote posts it, and then watch how he words this. Of course, I condemn any assault on enforcement. You beat poster. Now, due January 6th. Immediately, boom, he pretends he's a victim. And then after he pretends he's a victim, right, he just goes into the law enforcement and then back to January 6th. You notice how he didn't say ICE agents, right? Gavin Newsom is super slick. He is slicker than the grease in his hair. He knows exactly how he's wording this and how he's pushing this forward. Law enforcement, back to January 6th. No. Talk about the ICE agents. Condemn it. Okay, if you're going to say you're standing up for law enforcement, then specifically say the ICE agents who are being assaulted in your state. Or say about your National Guard. Or say that for the Marines. Or for the Department of Homeland Security. Or for Border Patrol. Say that entering this country is illegal. And say that you are going to deport every single last illegal immigrant right out the door where they belong. But of course, Gavin Newsom won't say that because the Democrats want the illegal invasion of our country. Never, ever doubt that for a single second. That is who the Democrats are. And that's why he uses such a broad language as to condemn the assaults on law enforcement. But of course, he quickly pushes it back to January 6th. as they just lie endlessly. Now, to continue to prove how far they're going, here is the Los Angeles mayor, Karen Bass. As she goes in, LA will provide cash assistance, cash, to immigrants who are affected by these raids. Cash to illegal aliens. These Democrats, just like what New York did, right? They're also going to hire lawyers for illegal aliens. They are putting them up in hotels. They are feeding them. And now they're going to give cash payments with your tax dollars. Okay, this is money that they take from you against your will. You know, one of the things I think would do the best job to get rid of all the corruption in our government is to make taxes optional. Maybe all the way down to like 1 or 2%. And then everything else the government wants from you, they have to lobby for and they have to prove just like anybody else does. And if you don't want your money going to illegal aliens, then you just don't pay the taxes on it. Because this is the corruption that's happened for far too long, is that they get away with this garbage. Right? They take your money and there's no oversight, there's no accountability for it. And then when they take your money and they take no responsibility for it, they then just use it for their own little pet projects and they hold no accountability to you, the American people. You know, instead of giving illegal immigrants cash, how about they don't tax you, the taxpayers? How about they reduce your taxes? That sounds like a really good plan to me. Hey, this is beyond corrupt. It's almost unthinkable, but this is where we at as a country. And Karen Bass, she is not done there. As she's also she has also signed this directive that she is now demanding, right? The mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, demanding through her order that the federal government inform her of all ICE raids in her city. And the reason why is so she can protect the people, meaning the illegal immigrants, from being arrested and being deported. Because the Democrats, they only care about criminals. This should piss every single one of you off, that they would do this to American citizens, because you voted for deportations. And the Democrats do not care. You voted to build the wall, and the Democrats do not care. When illegal criminals harm your cities and harm your communities, the Democrats, they do not care, because they see the illegal invasion of our country as votes for Democrats, either now or in the future. As they always talk about, right, pathways to citizenship. And they can't get pathways to citizenship, then they wanted to take the children and abuse the birthright citizenship to make the children of these illegal aliens now U.S. citizens. So they'll either be voters for the Democrat Party now, or they'll be voters for the Democrat Party in the future. That has always been the plan of the illegal invasion of our country. And that is why they're fighting so hard to keep these illegal aliens here. That is why they're ignoring you, the American voters. And that's why they're trying to protect and hide these illegal aliens in these so-called sanctuary cities, which really means criminal havens. The Democrats are down to 17% when they have a built-in 33% base. The fake news networks has no influence left. Donald Trump is gaining more popularity because this is what you voted for. And they're going to continue to learn, and they're going to continue to find out. We have that and a lot more to cover after we go to this greedy profit break. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back. This is the Cash Loren Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, TRexPets.com is your home for your animals' needs, from their food to their toys to any other accessories. You can find it all over at TRexPets.com. Stop giving your money to these woke box stores who don't care about your values and push all this woke nonsense garbage. Enough is enough. Over at TRexPets.com, they are America First, conservative, loving family, guaranteed to be woke free. That is over at TRexPets.com. Go there today, sign up, and with your $50 purchase, you'll receive a free gift with your order. That is over at TRexPets.com. Put your money where your values are, guaranteed to be woke free, unlike these giant big box stores that put America last. Go to TRexPetStores.com right now and buy your dog food, your cat food, and other supplies. Head over right now over at TRexPets.com. That is T-Rex.pets.com. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the CASHLOREN show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks in addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you'll gain lots of extra benefits too. The Democrats are on the wrong side of every single issue. They can't go to a single issue that they can look at and they can say, no, we are winning on this issue. This is something that we can run on. And because of that, they have to continue to lie about anything to try to get you to hate Trump and ignore that what's being done is in your own best interest. But it is not working, as even these polls show, and these are fake news polls. Something that I always say anytime we ever talk about polls is I say take them with a grain of salt, because they lose very small sample sizes, and they always tend to go after very low liberal areas and ask questions there to try to skew these polls, if they even ask anybody at all. And this is why these polls, they've always gotten things so wrong. However, when even the fake polls is again with a grain of salt, but when they go so far to the left, because they're not there to inform people, they're there to manipulate people. But it's gotten so bad for the Democrats that they can't even do that. When they ask their own base, and 61% say that they want Donald Trump to deport every single illegal alien in the country. Yeah, this isn't just the ones who committed crimes when they're here. No, so that's how they try to word these polls. Right? They'll say something like, do you agree that a child with cancer should be deported by Donald Trump? And people are like, well, no, I probably don't agree with that. And they'll say, aha, see? Americans don't want deportations. These are manipulative, these people are. But when they asked like 100% should be deportations, and they had over a 50% response saying yes, and it's actually getting higher, it's now at 61%. And then you have more as Donald Trump is continuing to cut funding for all these illegal aliens. It has now been shown that by the own CBO that 1.4 billion illegal aliens were on Medicaid. And it's probably much higher than that because on the backside of what they'll do is that they will use state funds to do for the illegal aliens. And then they'll use federal Medicaid to backfill them on the end. And then they'll pretend they'll lie to you. They'll say, well, no illegal aliens are on Medicaid because it's illegal to be on Medicaid if you're an illegal alien. See how that works? And that's just like, if it's illegal, you write a law, then what do we need law enforcement for? If it's a law, then what do we need prisons for? Why don't you just write the law? You write a law that says, it's 60 miles an hour is the speed limit, then everybody will drive 60 miles, right? If you write a law that says stealing is illegal, well, then nobody will steal. See, everybody instantly knows how absurd that is. But the same old Democrats are trying to run with the same old hoaxes all over again. You will never, ever hate these people enough. And the best way for Donald Trump to force all these deportations out of our country is to cut off these funds. And that was a huge part of the big, beautiful bill. And the Democrats, they know this, and that's why they are fighting so hard to try to stop Donald Trump from deporting these illegal aliens. See, that is why they came up with the big, ugly bill. It's because it's ugly for their illegal aliens that they facilitated into our country. And he's continuing to cut them off now, as this come out of his admins and taxpayer funding benefits for illegal aliens. Did you know that illegal aliens, they were getting free tuition? Do you get free tuition? They were getting food access assistance programs. They were getting access to Head Start. Remember, this is all your tax dollars that are paying for this. And they were getting development grants with your tax dollars. That was the plan all along. And now we have to stop it and put an end to it. And because of this, because Doge is working and they're starting to put an end to this waste, because the big, beautiful bill is starting to help to put an end to this waste. And then the big piece, the one that they lied about endlessly, was the tariffs. You remember how Rand Paul and all the other Democrats were going there, we got to take away Donald Trump's rights to do tariffs. I mean, imagine the destruction he's going to do to our economy. I mean, if he puts on all these tariffs, it's going to cause a major collapse. This will be like the depression on steroids. We have to stop him now. But they knew they had to lie and they had to move fast, because if you saw the results, then you would never come to conclusions that they want you to come to. And that's exactly what is happening now. As now, they are now dropping the mic. As the first budget surplus in June, the first time in 20 years, because tariffs are working. See, June had a surplus of $26 billion. And the U.S. Treasury shockingly runs the surplus. And it now is up to saying $27 billion, and then following in May at $316 billion. And this is directly from Donald Trump's tariffs. See if I can bring up the end wokeness one real quick. Find that. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. There it is. So you can, for the ones that are on the video side, you can see. So in June of 2025, we'll go down to the bottom. So this is June 2020, $864 billion deficit. June 2021, $174 billion deficit. 22, $88 billion. June 23, $227 billion. June 2024, $71 billion. That is a huge turnaround as this works. See, tariffs are the answer. And that's why over 170 countries, that's why they used to use tariffs on our country. If tariffs didn't work, they wouldn't do that. But the tariffs would actually have an opposite effect because we weren't using them ourselves. What they would do is they'd stop our products from going into their countries, and then that would allow all their products to then flood into our countries. And the excuse was always cheap labor and then cheap goods for you, the American people. But what was the results of that? Has anything actually gotten cheap for you? I mean, they tell us that it's cheap, but what in your life is cheaper now? Hasn't everything gotten more and more expensive? I mean, what about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? And I'm not just talking like individual costs. Like a burger used to be $1, then it was $3, now it's $5 and $10. I'm not just saying that. I'm also talking about the percentage of your income. I mean, go like ask your parents like a percentage of their income what they'd spend on groceries or their mortgage, and then look at what you're spending now. See, that's the inflation that they've caused. That's the actual cost to you. Inflation is the hidden tax. It's too much money chasing too few goods. It has not ever come from tariffs. That was a lie all forever. And they all knew it. And the experts, they lied to you to try to get you to come to conclusions so you would never ever see what is happening now. The recovery of our country as these tariffs have worked. And what did it do? Is it caused everything to get more and more expensive, and the bigger businesses got bigger. And as we got flooded with more and more of the outside products coming into our country, what happened? All your private sector manufacturing jobs started to leave this country. And then instead, they were replaced by a growing and growing federal government, and state governments, and local governments, and more people becoming dependent on the government of the United States. Exactly what the Democrats wanted. They lied to get to this point. And now we are exposing that lie, and we're taking the country forward to the golden age. And it comes through tariffs, and it comes through the wall, and it comes through deportations. See, this is how this works. All this money starts coming in because we are the superpower of the world. And everybody wants to do business in capitalism, as it turns out, not in socialism or communism. And that will now make it more fair. And so then what happens? All this manufacturing comes back into our country. And to avoid the tariffs, to build them here. And then the people that do on the one side, they'll say, well, if the tariffs, if they're going to stop goods from coming into our country, then won't that make the tariff revenue go down eventually? And then they stop there to try to do the new scare. They try to say, well, yeah, the tariff revenue is going to go down, right? And then all the debt is going to go back up, and we're going to be in the worst boat than we were before. So they only tell you that half without telling you the full half, with the other side of it. The other side is the tariffs bring all these jobs back here. And so of all the government, instead of it taking your money and giving it to career useless people that don't produce anything, instead, you now produce products in this country that generate real revenue, that drive real creation, that creates new products, new goods here in the United States, that levels the playing field. And once they do that, as tariff revenue goes down and manufacturing goes up, it rebalances itself out. And then we drain the federal government. We don't need this job. We don't need this job. We don't need this job. All of a sudden, the government's now spending $7 trillion a year. See, this is how we win. And Donald Trump has continued to double down on all these tariffs, using them to help put America first. He has put a 50% tariff on the digital citizenship. So this is down in Brazil. And this is the other way that tariffs are used. We talk about the economy, but also as you have down in Brazil doing what the Democrats try to do here in the United States, silence people that they do not like. They're actually getting away with that in Brazil. As the opposition leader to Lula is being prosecuted down there. So Donald Trump, he put tariffs on Brazil to penalize them for taking away free speech, not just there in Brazil, but try and do it here, just like Europe was doing. You remember when they were trying to push that nonsense? When you had, they were going after X and they were going to other platforms. They're trying to say, we're going to tax you in Europe if you don't censor here in the United States. These globalist hacks. He also put a tariff on copper to bring that back here to the United States as well. This is a big national security issue. You remember in Canada when they had tariffs wars, and remember what they did at that point? They threatened to cut off electricity here to the United States. If people don't have electricity, we're so dependent on now, people die. So they were literally willing to kill American citizens to penalize tariffs on their country. Now, what would China be willing to do? Or India? See, this is huge national security issues. This is why we have to make America energy dependent or energy independent. And this is also why Donald Trump is also moving to get rare earth minerals here in the United States, as they're building their first rare earth mineral mine in over 70 years. And this one mine, which they've only done a third of they're looking at the ground, they found 6 of 17 rare earth minerals. And out of that, they think that they have 150 years at the current rate of production. And this is just getting started, and this is just one mine. Wait as we continue to expand. See, this is America first. This is 100% of what you voted for. I said this when Donald Trump first came in the office. I said the Democrats were going to do all the same things that they're doing right now. And no one should have doubted me for a single second, because it's the same playbook over and over and over again. It's like Mad Libs, where the sentence is the same, but they just changed the words out in the beginning and the end. So at first it was the eggs, and Donald Trump, was going to cause the economy to collapse. And then it was the stock market, and that was going to cause the economy to collapse. And then it was the tariffs, and that was going to cause the economy to collapse. See, it's all the same Mad Libs over and over and over again for these Democrats. But just like I said then, we stick to the plan and we fight, we will win. And we will show that the Democrats and the experts, that they have been lying to you this entire time, right from the beginning. And they had to lie, because they didn't lie, then you would find out the truth. That tariffs work, that border walls work, that deporting illegal aliens works. See, this is how we get 2 million new jobs that are going to American-born citizens, and foreign-born immigrants have lost over 500,000 jobs. This is America winning. The stock market hits all-time highs, and we're only 6 months in. And this is with Powell, who should also resign, just like Bondi, forcing the interest rates to stay up for absolutely no reason other than try to harm Trump's economy. It should probably be down at least 3 points now, according to Trump and others. And once he does that, watch what happens to mortgage rates, and watch what happens to more businesses investing here in the United States, and then current businesses building more buildings here, and thus more jobs, more foreigners getting deported, more Americans getting these jobs. See, they're picking the berries is a lie. Just like the Democrats lie about farmers picking berries, just like they used to lie about slaves picking cotton. I mean, when the Democrats say, who's going to pick the berries, ask them, well, who's going to pick your cotton? Because it's the exact same lie. It's just a different Mad Libs. It's the same exact emotional manipulation that it has always been. And now we are exposing them, and now we are proving it. And just like I said, right when Donald Trump came in the office, if you stay, if you fight, if you stay the course, we will prove that they're liars. And once we prove that they're liars, they will then have nothing else to do but to collapse. And the Democrats, rather than sitting back going, we're losing. Maybe instead of lying to the American voters, I don't know, maybe we should do what the American voters want. Of course, the Democrats will never, ever, ever do that, because they are the elites. and they are your betters, and they think that they rule over you. They are smarter and they are better. That we are at top of the hour. We will be back on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just keep fighting for our country. We can win, and we can take it back from the communist Democrats and their UTA party. Well, I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. This is the Cash Loren Show. Well, independent thinkers, we have come to the top of another hour. The rest of the stories will have to go back in the stack. If you enjoyed this content, take a moment, hit the subscribe, turn on notifications. Most importantly, share a conservative message with your friends and family. We will be back Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on the Cash Loren Show. We will go and we will expose and fight the fake news networks who have been getting away with lying to you for decades. Our content will always be free, but if you'd like to support more, you can do so monetarily over at locals at the Cash Loren Show. And there's great rewards and benefits for doing so. For only about a cup of coffee a month, you will receive exclusive articles and you'll have your name at the end of the video, just like these other fine patriots have. If that sounds interesting to you, go over to locals right now for just a cup of coffee a month and help independent creators stay free, keep the lights on, and continue to expose the fake news networks. We'll see you again on the next episode. This is the Cash Loren Show.